Good afternoon, everyone. This is Amy, Mystic Rose Tarot. Today, I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to be reviewing not one, but 4 tarot decks. And what's different about this is that these are mini-sized tarot decks. I've had these decks sitting on my table for quite some time, and I just have not had a chance to get started and do a show of these decks. So I'm going to try and do all 4. I'm going to try and spend about 15 minutes. This will probably run, just FYI, a little bit over an hour. But these are just going to be, I'm going to show you the box. I'm going to show you the card, front and back, so you can get an idea of it. If anyone has any questions, because of the time I want to spend showing these decks, I'll answer them at the end. So if you could be patient, unless there's exclamation points saying, I gotta know an answer, I'll take a minute and answer the question. So before I begin, I'm going to drink some water because I'm going to be talking for quite some time. And I'm coming from the United States. I'm on the West Coast. And our first deck, I'm just already put it in a intuitive order. First deck I'm going to do, this is a mini deck. This is Llewelyn's Classic Tarot. I have long fingers, so I'll try not to have my fingers and hands overshadow the deck. But here it is. I think it's, you know what, I didn't even measure these. I may run away from this recording to get my my ruler. And that's the side of it. It's a paper box, very light. And this deck was created, as you can see there, by Barbara Moore. The art is Eugene Smith. It's a flip top. And with all the decks that I'm going to be showing you, I put the wrong one in. There's going to be a card. This is for the SteamPunk. But there'll be a card here. There'll be 2 cards just giving information about the ISBN number, how to order it. If you want to just hand this down to someone, you can. Okay, so let me run down. I'm going to get a ruler, and then we're going to start making this work. Alrighty, so here we go. So width-wise, and this is the same for all the decks, width-wise, it's like 1 3/4, lengthwise by 3. So I can show you here. Let me move my hand a little further. There we go. So there's about 3 inches lengthwise, a little bit more. And then here, it's going to be, well, it's showing reverse on me. So it's about 1 3/4 wide. Okay, so this is the Classic Tarot created by Llewelyn Books and released through Llewelyn and created by Barbara Moore. So here we go. We're about 5 minutes in. It's a Fool card. And this is the back. It has flowers and cross pattern, a rose. I believe that's a lily. This actually isn't too bad. You can actually see everything. The finish of all these decks, with the exception of one, is like a matte, semi-matte glossy finish. Here's the High Priestess. It's a beautiful deck. I haven't gone through all these cards, so I will probably be making a comment or two. The Empress. Beautiful background. And then we have the Emperor. With the ram's heads on either side. There's a Hierophant. With the cross keys on the bottom. And if anyone's just peeking in, this is a review of the mini deck of the classic tarot created by, or not created, released through Llewelyn books. This is actually very nice. The burning tree. And we have the tree of knowledge of the apple. The woman's on the side of the tree of knowledge. The man's on the burning tree on the opposing side. Ooh, I have to go really quick with these. Here's the Chariot. The Hermit. I really enjoy the imagery in this deck. It still holds to the traditional style of the Rider-Waite-Smith. And I love traditional artwork. I have hardly any modern decks that I work with. I have some in a collection, but I would rarely go to them. We have the Wheel of Fortune. And we have the fixed symbols here. We have the lion, representing the role of Sun, Leo, the eagle, the sword, Archangel, Aquarius, Leo, and we have the bull. And then here, I'm trying to think of the sign right now. It's not coming to me. Justice. Beautiful royal colors here. The Hangman. Traditional imagery. Whenever I get the Hangman card in any deck, I always have to flip it around. And depending on how it's depicted, I can sometimes feel comfortable having the card up, right side up, which is upside down. But there's a card in the Linestrider Tarot, the Hangman, that I have to turn it around reverse. They have the tree of life that's in the image, and I have to do it upside down. It's we gravitate to the energy of decks in different ways. Here's death. I'm going closer. Temperance. The fire symbol, the center of his chest. One foot in the subconscious, other foot on the conscious realm, subconscious being the water, the deeper realms of who we are in the conscious, the reality state of our everyday life. Balancing the elements in between. Oh, I'm talking too much. Let's keep going. Here's the devil. So the devil in the Lover's card. Now the rejoined here. That is a rose, okay. And I'll show the back of the cards. Tower. Beautiful. So many different variations of interpreting the star card. And for the most part, I don't think I've come across a star card that I didn't like. There are people who really know how to convey the feel and the image of the star in a lot of tarot decks. We have the moon. If anyone has a classic tarot by Llewelyn, because there's no guidebook with this deck, someone tell me who this person is. This is obviously a face of someone very specific. It could be the artist. I don't know. Eugene Smith is the artist of this work. I'd like to know who this person is. It's a sun card. Very simple, very traditional. The young child riding on the horse, white horse, banner of victory, sunflowers in the background. Judgment. Interesting to see how people spell judgment. Some people drop the E, other people leave the E. I'm guessing maybe depending on if the deck is created by someone from another country, they drop the E and just make it Judgment. We have Gabriel. Oops. The world. Again, the 4 fixed signs. Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio. I know I'm getting my fixed signs in relation to those 4 elements mixed up. Anyhow, okay, so that was the major arcana. Here we go for the minor arcana, Ace of Wands, very traditional. Since I didn't go through this deck, we're going to be going through these numerically until we get to the court cards. So we're going to be doing aces, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s in elemental order. Ace of Cups. Bird. Olive leaf in its mouth. Ace of Swords. Rising above the highest mountains, skies. Clear thought. Ace of Pentacles. There we go. I'm trying to move this to the lighting. There we go. I'm going to have to tilt it. We have the lilies that we see here on the back of the cards. Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so we're moving into our twos. Two of Wands. And as you can see, this deck is perfect for anyone who's learning. The images are simple, to read, to follow. It'll follow with a lot of traditional books for learning how to get into the tarot. Two of Swords. The eclipsing of the moon there. Two of Pentacles. Whimsical. Balancing. The Three of Wands. I'm going to go back a little bit. Three of Cups. Three of Swords. I won't announce these because you can read them on the bottom. And I haven't gone through this deck, so I'm seeing majority of these images for the first time. So we're going numerically through this deck. This is Llewelyn's Classic Tarot, the mini version. Oh, so much white space there. Is a hand. There's our Ace of Cups, trying to greet this person who is not really paying attention to what's immediately in their surroundings. Four of Swords. We have different landscapes here. Here, stained glass window looks like. Four of Pentacles. So as you can see with this, the Classic Tarot, it's following almost with the exact same imagery of the Rider-Waite-Smith. The characters they're not modern, but they come from medieval times, I would say. Historic times in the past. Five of Swords. Six of Swords. Victory. Friendship, memories. Six of Swords. moving away from turbulent times. Six of Pentacles. Choices, lots of decisions to make. Seven of Cups. Interesting, an interesting depiction of the Seven of Swords. This person's already taken the sword, but it's kind of taking a dangerous route out of the situation, climbing down the mountain. Seven of Pentacles. Eight of Wands. Nice that we have the roses here to show the building of success in the direction of finishing our goals. Signs of fruition. Eight of Cups. Nice. I like that. That's very nice. Nice little addition as a reminder of the emotions with the full moon. Eight of Swords. Eight of Pentacles. Again, the size of this deck is 1 3/4 by 3/4, or 1 3/4 widthwise. Height about 3 inches. We have our Nine of Wands. I haven't shuffled with any of these decks yet, so I have long fingers. It's going to be interesting. So Nine of Cups. Nine of Swords. Symbol of Venus here. And we have the flower here, which is represented throughout some of the cards in the Pentacles suit. And we have the Maltese Falcon. 10 of Wands. Again, remember those flowers, the roses are still on here. Ten of Cups. Ooh. We got 1 minute. 10 of Swords. I like how we have the different jeweled swords there. 10 of Pentacles. Success. Family life. Everything's in balance. And then it's cyclical. Start over again. Okay, Page of Wands. The salamander right there. Representative of fire energy. Salamander is a fire spirit animal. Page of Cups. It's the shoreline. And with a fish coming out the cup, representing water. It's intellectual, not intellectual, instinctual. Instinctual emotions. Page of Swords. Sorry for that delay. Movement of thought. Page of Pentacles. Knight of Wands. Knight of Cups. Also take a look at the backgrounds. The cups were at the beach, desert, and Pentacles is like a mountainscape. So is the swords. Swords are sort of riding through. It's like the higher elevations of the mountains. Knight of Swords. Knight of Pentacles. Yeah, that's interesting. The Pentacles here seem to be like a grounded elevation in the mountains. And just to go back, look, the Knight of Swords is higher up, closer to the peaks of the mountains. That's a very interesting way of translating the landscape in this deck. Okay, Queen of Wands. Sorry for my fingers. Bringing in the attributes of the sun, desert landscape, the lion, by Leo holding the sunflower. And we have the cat, her instincts and sensitivity. So you look at our landscape here, we're at the beach. Queen of Swords. The upper echelons of the mountains, closer to the peaks of the mountains. Representing thoughts, intellect. Surrounded in the field, in the distance, the lake, everything's green. Rabbit for abundance. King of Wands. It's the salamander again. And lion behind. It's holding his staff. He is ready. Cups in the middle of the ocean. Dolphin jumping in the background out of the water. Coming from the unconscious realm to the subconscious. King of Swords. King of Pentacles. It's quite a stunning throne there with the bull. The castle in the background. Showing complete success, a lot of hard work. Okay, so that was Llewelyn's Classic Tarot, mini edition. This is the deck here. It's the flip top. And art by Eugene Smith, created by Barbara Moore. It's available through Llewelyn books. Okay, so I'm going to put these in semi-order. I'm going to leave them out if anyone has any questions, since this is a live review. Put this back in here. It's been about 25 minutes, about 10 minutes over my time. Next deck I'm going to go to is, I'm going to keep it like this. The next deck I'm going to do is the Everyday Witch Tarot. It's the mini edition. And all of these decks are published through Llewelyn books. And I will include the link to all these decks so you can order them if you are interested. The box has a glossy. All of these boxes do. It's Everyday Witch Tarot by Deborah Blake. Actually, we have the Oracle version of this deck. The art's by Elizabeth Alba. So on the box, there's a different image. This is our back. This is our front where you open it. So I'll show you the flip top here. Again, all these decks, the mini decks, they're 1 3/4 by 3 inches. That's the box size. Let me just double check it. The images, it's about the same. Yeah, 1 3/4. The corners are rounded. So the cards themselves are a little shy of 3 inches. Like 3.75, something like that. Alrighty. Here we go. This is a showing of the Everyday Witch Tarot. These are all mini deck reviews. Then we have the Fool. Let me show you the back of the cards too. And I believe this is similar. I'm going to reach over because I have the deck here. The Everyday Witch Tarot, if it has the same background. It does to a certain extent. Okay, so here's the back of the mini. And this is the Oracle deck. So 2 more cats added to the mix. So here is our magician. Closer so you can see it. I've noticed something with the Llewelyn decks, the ones that they publish. They tend to have a banner style to show the titles. It's not bad. It's almost like a signature stamp for knowing it's a Llewelyn deck. We publish through them. Not all the decks have the banner, but anyhow, I just noticed that. Here's a magician. A high priestess. Empress. Emperor. He has his plans there. It's the horns of the stag for leadership. Father figure. Hierophant. Your spiritual teacher, guide. Shared traditional values. Lovers. Deborah is similar to me when it comes to felines. She obviously has a great respect for them. If you see closely here, it's going to be kind of hard. I don't want to get too close. We do have a cat there who has the goggles and the helmet and sitting in the sidecar. Here's the chariot. Strength. Hermit. The Wheel of Fortune. Very playful there. You got health, you got love, you got knowledge, you got marriage, you got success. And that Wheel of Fortune. My lighting is slowly changing, so I have to adjust the card accordingly. Here's Justice. 2 cats there. And she's holding something. Oh, it is scales. Okay. I didn't see the chains for the scales. The Hangman. I'm going to reverse so you can see. Yeah, it's interesting. As I mentioned earlier, it seems like when I flip the Hangman around, just me, I see the card more clearly. There's something very interesting with that. And we have death. Don't fear death. Sign of transformation and change. I like to see a happy death card. If anyone who's seen this, if they have a tarot deck where the death card doesn't have the Grim Reaper, it doesn't have any dancing skeletons or a skeleton, anything in reference to death, but is still being illustrated as a death card, I like to see it. Temperance for balance. And this deck too, this is another deck that is good for learning the tarot with a modern twist to it. And this is very reminiscent of, don't talk to strangers, don't take candy, stuff like that. We have the cats at the bottom. They're kind of like grabbing your attention. And we see the devilish man with the tail in the background, which they don't see. Tower. Different kind of looking tower. I lost my order. The moon. Beautiful. Beautiful representation. As above, so below, transferring the energy from the moon down to earth as she stands in the waters. We're slowly coming out of the new moon right now. We're in the richest new moon. And then it's slowly starting to wax. Moon in Leo will be tonight. Wonderful time to do magic and start working towards things that you want to have an end effect of the world. Very nice image there of the cat. You see its reflection as the panther. Beautiful card. They're all beautiful. This deck is just wonderful. This is the sun. There we go. Prosperity, happiness. It's the field of sunflowers. Judgment. Like the pipe piper. The world. Like on a tropical island. The cat, the watermelon. House in the background. Freedom, liberation. Well, the world is ruled by Pluto, so the world is of regeneration, growth. Let's just show this again. When there's tribulations and you're moving out from that and you're starting to feel that sense of freedom, you start seeing the world in a different perspective. Things feel good. The world is a positive card, but with a lesson to it. So now we're going to go into the wands. Now this is in order elemental wise. We're not numerical like the classic tarot. So we're going to do Ace of Wands, Two of Wands, so on and so forth. These tiny cards make my long fingers a little difficult too. Is that Salamander, Two of Wands, rolling up the wall. We'll make sure I didn't get these out of order. Four of Wands. Each witch here has their own cat. I was counting to see if they did have 5 cats. Six of Wands. So you can see. Seven of Wands, challenges from many sources, and you're standing up and facing them. Seven of Wands. Eight of Wands. So, Nine of Wands. Still battling through. You're almost there. It's a lot of work. I like how the fiery smoke coming from the The wands rising from them. Ten of wands. Okay, so now we're going to our court cards. Page of wands. The knights. Knight of wands. We have the energy here. Getting ready to be put to use. And the King of Wands. The color associations are still there. There's a deck that I work with right now that I'm working with, and there's the aces have the color affiliation, but throughout the rest of the suit, it doesn't follow. So wands, you would see a warm orange, fiery subject, but then the rest of the deck has different colors into it. So here's our Ace of Cups. Casing the emotions. The cup runneth over. You see here. Two of Cups. Cups for moon, friendship, harmony. Five of Cups. Trying to assess everything that's just been going on. Overwhelming. The Five of Cups. Emotions out of control. And flowing into the ocean. Oop. There we go. Six of Cups. So 7. Eight of Cups. Nine of Cups. Recovery. Settling down with yourself and your emotions. Taking care of yourself. Ten of Cups. I'm going to take a little bit of water. We're heading now into our court cards for the cups. Page of Cups. This one's cute. Knight of Cups. actually flying above the water, giving love to anyone who will accept it, being careful of the water that's lurking in the water beneath them. Flying through, unknown territory there. Queen of Cups. Knight of Cups. Again, the dolphins coming out of the water, coming back in, jumping in. Got 2 more suits for moving along here. Ace of Swords. This is the Everyday Witch Tarot. This is the mini edition of this deck. It's 1 3/4 by a little bit under 3 inches. I'll show you the back here. I'm just skipping through. It's the back of the card. Kind of hard to do reversals because you'll be able to tell which card is a reversal. 2 of Swords. Swords. Trying to see what the book says here. Journal. Trying to convey thoughts and emotions. 3 swords there that are impaled into the heart. 4 of Swords. Five of Swords. A situation that's out of control and trying to maintain it. Six of Swords. Sun. Take a look at the 7 of Swords again. Eight of Swords. Nine of Swords. Despair, overwhelmed. Almost within reach of the end of your battle. I like how the sun is rising in the background to indicate a new beginning, which would go back to the Ace of Swords. Here we go with our court cards. Page of Swords. Yeah, I think it's short. Can't really get too close because it's small. I can't even tell. Just wondering if this person is wearing a shirt that has astrological signs. I cannot tell. Page of Swords. Knight of Swords. Yeah, it's the same material. It's like his cloak, and then it's unleashed. The Knight of Swords. Queen of Swords. and the King of Swords. The Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles here. New beginnings, new projects, new goals. Sorry. Two of Pentacles. The Moonscape. Showing infinity and also creating balance. Three of Pentacles. Air, fire, water, and then we have earth. Fire, water, air. Four of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles, challenges. Need of assistance. Six of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles, which I believe that was actually the opening card, the Everyday Witch Oracle that I have, but it isn't. Eight of Pentacles. Again, this is the Everyday Witch Tarot. This is the mini version. It's published through Llewelyn, created by Deborah Blake, and arts by Elizabeth Alba. Those are Nine of Pentacles. That tree looks wonderful. All the hard work. And Ten of Pentacles. Okay, we're winding down. First hour. Page of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles surrounded by all these black cats at her feet. The woman who has earned her abundance and is maintaining and control of it. King of Pentacles. The glow in the background. Dog representing royalty at his feet. The throne. When we see pentacles, the pentacle suits, we tend to see a lot of greenery, which is related to earth and success, wealth, abundance. Ivy that's crawling up on the throne. You see grapes hanging by the tree. For wine, for good life, good health. That's our King of Pentacles. All right, 1 hour. Okay, that was the Everyday Witch Tarot. the mini edition. So we did the full through the world, and then we did our suits in order. The wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. All right, so we're halfway there. I have 2 more decks left. The next deck that I'm going to do is, okay, I'm going to do the Linestrider. This is the mini edition. I did a review of the Linestrider, the standard size deck. It's on my channel. And again, I'm showing the images, but I'm going more into detail with the standard Linestrider deck. So I can go more into the images and talk a little bit. So I'm going to show you one example of the standard edition of the Linestrider. And this deck, even the mini one and the standard, they both have a glossy finish. So it's gonna show some reflections. I will have to move it around. This isn't the deck that I'm going to be showing, but for example, the size of the Linestriders mini is 1 3/4 by a little bit under 3 inches, maybe 2 3/4. So I will show you. Here's our deck. Here's the box for it. And this is created by CeeLo Thompson. She illustrated the deck, and she did all the words for the book. It's a beautiful deck. The medium that she uses is watercolor. And all the images, it's kind of hard here, and all the images are set against a white background. So there you go. Put my hand in. And all the mini decks that I've been reviewing, they all have flip tops. It's paper, cardboard, very light cardboard. All the decks are $11.99. They're through Llewelyn Publications. And I will post links, if I haven't already, in the description, so you can get more information about the decks. Okay, so moving along, here we go. Linestrider Tarot, mini version. Here is the full. No change in the images, just the size of the deck. Magician. And I'll show you the back. So we can do reversals of these. The High Priestess. I'm going to show you the comparison. The print quality for this deck is wonderful. It's basically identical when you get the larger deck. Very much the same. Whoever did the color correction to match it up with the boxing did good. And even with the guidebook for the standard edition, it's excellent. Here's our Empress. The lion here on the bottom. And then we have the monkey in the back. Our Emperor. So considering the amount of decks that I'm reviewing, I'm not going to be able to give feedback on the meanings of each of these. I just want people to see the imagery and the size of the decks. And then, like I said, I do have a full review of the standard size Linestrider. Here's the Lovers. She makes reference to this specific species of bird in the guidebook, and it's not coming to me. Here's our Chariot. The Strength card, you have to take a second glance. We have the Lion here. We have the Woman here. We have the arrows. Like, because of, even with the standard size, it's hard for me to see if those arrows are actually piercing the lion or if they're just in the direction of both of these characters. The beauty with the Linestrider deck is that, again, it's very simple. It's against the white background. And it's all watercolor, and I just love how she just puts in a splash or an emphasis of just a watercolor to kind of set the mood of the card. It doesn't even have to relate to the suit or to the major arcana, whatever color that she puts in. It's just a nice creative touch to put on the cards. And these, again, are the same as the standard. Is the Wheel of Fortune. Oops. Here's Justice. Because I'm doing a flip through, the colors are a little bit off, but they're vibrant in this deck. We have the Hangman, Robot Son of Pisces. And like I was saying earlier with the other decks, I always have to turn the Hangman card around because when I reverse it, I read it so much better. I see more detail. This way, I don't know. I think also too, simply, we don't see the world upside down, unless you have if your brain is mechanically altered that it just sees things upside down. There is a condition like that, but it's extremely rare. Here we have our Death card. Again, very simple white background. Transformation. This is ruled by Scorpio. Temperance. It's like a violet fuchsia color. Wash. There's the Devil. Ruled by Capricorn. What I love with the Linestrider is it's not set defined images. You can tell, when there's a magician or whatnot, but the way she uses her colors, the way that she illustrates the images, this deck really gets you to feel more than actually look at the details of the images. You feel with this deck. There's our Tower. There's our Star. Let's say a pelican. I'm just not familiar with different bird species. Here's our Star, sign of Aquarius. The Moon. Very simple. Going through the realms. Crayfish, lobster, dog, for instance. The sun. It's like a sunflower with some color in the center of it. Sunflower, if you do see it in the Sun card and some decks, it's obviously a representation of happiness and good health. I mentioned earlier in one of the decks, I have to look at it now. I'm not going to get hung up on it. Here's Judgment without an E. And there are some people who, depending on where they're from, their training, they spell judgment without an E. Most of the decks that I have, I think there's E in it. I think it's Judgement. And I just mentioned that it's my own minor pet peeve. I was a spelling bee finalist, and so there's one word that took me out of winning first place, and I'll never forget it. So when I look at words and the spelling, it comes back from that. And we have the world, signs of the fixed elements there. A little bit stylized here. Okay, so now we're going to go to our suits. And again, they're going to be in the order of elements. My other deck that I started out with, the classic deck, the order was numerical. So if you go back, and I'll put in the timestamps, you can see, you can skip through and see the ones by suit or by numbers for the classic tarot and the other decks. So here's Ace of Wands. It's subtle, but you see the fox right there. Her use of space, Ciela's use of space with this deck and colors. She really knows. She understands. Here's our Two of Wands. It's not a rabbit, it's a hare. Hares tend to be larger. They have longer bodies. Three of Wands. The elk. And see what I'm saying here? I have mentioned that there are some decks where, when it comes to the elements, you don't necessarily have to stick to the color reference. Wands are usually warm, fiery colors. Here we have blue. We have cooler colors. Here we have earth color, green. Four of Wands. We have the hares there. Let me just see something. They're not impaled. They're just the four wands are sort of surrounding, going in between them through the leaves. Another perk for me with this deck is I love animals and nature, so she does a wonderful incorporation of the animals, how they relate to each other, and also humans. We have the face here, the human, and the fox here. So Six of Wands, success, laurel. I just noticed here, there's a hand here. I'm going to have to look at the larger version, the standard size version of this to see what's going on, because something is coming out. Let me go back a little bit. That's another thing when it comes to the tarot, especially when images are sort of not fully clear, but you can get a sense as to what's going on. There's always more to read. There's always something else that you're going to see. There's our Seven of Wands. There's always something else you're going to see a second, maybe third, maybe fourth time around of using that deck. You know, if you don't have time to spend to look at every detail of your deck, a lot of us don't, we see things that we don't really realize at first glance. And I suggest to people that when you get a deck, look through the deck first, and go to the guidebook if you want. Some people don't even use the guidebook. They want to build their own interpretation of it. This is a cute 9 of Wands here, representing a soldier. It's a reddish color there, the red fox, in reference to the energy of Wands. And we have 10 of Wands here. That's it down. Really simple. A softer depiction of defeat. I tilt that down because there's not a sun that's in the card. That's just a reflection. So now we're going to arrange our clock cards here. Dragon there in the background. She's sitting on her throne. And again, the colors. Very soft. I won't say this is a beginner's deck because the imagery can be a little misleading for people who are trying to learn the tarot. So I would suggest sticking to a simple deck like the classic tarot. Get familiar with the symbols, the symbology and the imagery, the meanings, and then you can move on to a deck like this. This could probably be a good second deck after you feel comfortable, more advanced deck. Queen of Wands. It's grays in this color, or in this card. King of Wands. Astrologically, there's different associations when it comes to the king and queen, depending on who's creating the deck. I've always felt the King of Wands was Aries, but there are some who call their King of Wands Leo. But I really wouldn't associate the Lion with the King of Wands. I'd probably do it with the Queen of Wands, which I will show back here again. There's no animal reference with the exception of the cat. And the cat could be reminiscent of the lion, but this is a softer version for the Queen of Wands. Okay, so now we're going to go into the cups. Cups are represented in this suite, or in this suit, primarily by cats. Two cups. I'm going to tilt that down. Three of Cups, this is very humorous. The 3 party dogs there. And then you have a little bird that's in the back of the dog there. 4 Cups. Very, very soft. Picture of this card. 5 of Cups. There's the owl. With the eggs there, overwatching them. Excuse me. I think these are meerkats. So 6 of Cups. There we go. If I get too close, it starts falling slightly out of focus, so move back. Seven of Cups. Interesting depiction of this Seven of Cups. Eight of Cups. So when you're learning the tarot and you go from a traditional deck to a deck like this, it's always nice to have the deck that you originally learned from and line these cards next to it so you can see a relationship or see the differences on how they are created. And this is good because it gives you insight. It puts you inside the mind of the person who created the deck. And you could get a sense as to, you know, how or maybe why they created that image the way they did. Excuse me. Nine of Cups. This one, look carefully. We have a mischievous cat who just took that bird, and we got the feather hanging out there in the mouth. And then we have a feather here on the floor. Almost emotional success, completion, understanding. This is an interesting card to read into, considering the image. So again, that's what I've been saying. The traditional meaning that we know of the tarot cards could be different with the modern decks. We have 10 of Cups. The Linestrider deck I got a while ago, both of these, and I'm just now going into them. So I'm still reading the Linestrider. I haven't gone through the entire book, so there's much more for me to explore with Llewelyn's interpretation of these cards. Here we go into our court cards, Page of Cups. This is a busy card, it's the Knight of Cups. You'll see the horse, it's actually coming towards you. And the face is right there. But again, you have to look at it. And this applies also to the larger size deck. Some images are a little busier and you have to really take a second look. And here's the Queen of Cups, which is the cover of the Linestrider mini deck and also the standard deck. And she's holding a fish inside a container. In this container, she's surrounded by sea urchins. And the King of Cups. Could be Neptune, I don't know. It's a god of some sort. Looks like it has a septum piercing right there. All right, we're going to go into our swords. Then the last deck that I am going to be reviewing is the SteamPunk Tarot. So that I'll probably do in about 20 minutes. Okay, so here we go. Ace of Swords. Led by the eagle. Okay, this is Llewelyn Thompson's Linestrider Tarot. This is the mini version. Two of Swords. And Three of Swords. The doves are impaled with the sword, so if you are sensitive towards animals and them being impaled in relation to the meaning of the tarot cards, you may not want to get the deck. It's only the one card that has it, one or two actually, but that's the way the cards are depicted, and that's something we have to face. You know, there's something that is a bit horrific or it moves us in a negative way. It's something that just goes to show something that we have to face within ourselves. Here's our Four of Swords, which has a lion. It's a lion or maybe I was trying to figure this out last night. It's a lion or maybe a pug. Looks like it has lion paws, but it looks like it has a a puggy face. It's good either way. So 5 of Swords. Dealing with challenges in the midst of them. There's the 6 of Swords. The silhouette depiction, I like that. There's our 7 of Swords. We have a battle going on in the background. It looks like this is smoke rising from it. The person who's left the battle is retreated. It's running away from showing the support to this battle. That's my interpretation. 8 of Swords. Nine of Swords. It's interesting. I have to read in the book about this one. Red Fox. And we have the waxen moon. Here's another animal. The swords are impaled. It's an elk. The 10 of Swords. Page of Swords. In this deck, I noticed with the Knights, she changes the format of some of the images. There are some Knights where the image is just a circle, and then there's one, I can't remember, I think it could have been in the Pentacles, where there's just a strip running right through. It's still showing the Knight and it's seeing, but she puts a strip of watercolor, a wash through it. And that's very interesting. There's our Queen of Swords. Let me just do this side by side. So here's an example of what I was saying. Could be the sword itself. You should just put a strip of it, showing the relationship and the power and the mastery of the minds between these two court cards. Okay, so now we're winding down. Here we go. Ace of Pentacles. In spring-like colors, we have the rabbit there. Pentacle necklace. 2 of Pentacles. See, this is a little busy. You just have to look at it. 3 crows, 3 ravens. 4 of Pentacles. Yes, that is a bird there. And this, I was trying to figure out last night. This was a fishing rod, and this is just a lure that's hanging from the end. Even with the larger image, it was hard for me to decipher it. So when I go through the book, I'll see if she gives a specific meaning to those details. And here we go, 5 of Pentacles. Actually. 6 of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles. So again, the coloring, as I mentioned, there's no color relationship with the suits here. Some of the cards have reference to it, but the colors are basically white. Here's our Eight of Pentacles. And it's like a violet bluey color. Nine of Pentacles. I just realized the name of this style that Ciola incorporates with the women here. It came out in the 1940s. They were called the Gibson Girls. And they had like in the 40s flip, the hairstyle very short. And there's some images here that remind me of that era, specifically with the women. We have the 10 of Pentacles. Our court cards. Page of Pentacles. And the dog right there in the distance. Okay, again, what I was saying about the knights. Here's a image in a circular design to represent the Knight of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles. Baby lamb. Baby cow, can't tell. And the King of Pentacles sort of surprised me with the character that was represented. I wouldn't have thought, but it's, again, it's open to interpretation. Here's the King of Pentacles, but it's represented by the owl. And I will have to look in the book and see her explanation of the King of Pentacles being used for the owl. Usually the Pentacles is usually a bear. It's an elk. It's a strong land animal. But regardless, this is a beautiful card. If I pull this card, I would just probably get thrown off a little bit, thinking it would be related more to the swords. The owl is of wisdom, so we can interpret this deck as someone who made wise choices to achieve their success and to protect their material goods and to maintain it. Alrighty, about 3 minutes over. That was the Linestrider Tarot, the mini edition. Here's the box that it comes in. It's a flip-top box. And I'm just going to go back to one of the cards here. So, and to show you the back. So you can do reversals with this. The sizing, again, of this deck is with all the mini tarot decks. They're 1 3/4 by like 2 3/4, slightly under 3 inches. So I'm going to actually show you because I do have long fingers. So this is, go back. So there's more of a real perspective. It's small. I haven't shuffled with these yet. But if you have long fingers, it may be a little bit difficult, but I can make it work. Alrighty. I'm looking at my time. Let's do this. And thank you for everyone who's just been popping in and out and looking at this. I know it's a long video, but I want to focus on some other content. So I figured let me just do all these decks all in one. And then I'll break them up, I'll timestamp them so you know which one's for the Classic Tarot, Everyday Witch, Linestrider, and SteamPunk. So you can go specifically to those reviews. Okay. So here's the SteamPunk Tarot. All these decks are published through Llewelyn. This is the mini version. I don't have the standard version of this deck. But this, again, is created by Barbara Moore, one of the top tarot creators out there. And the art is done by Ali Fell. And I briefly went through this deck last night, so I got a sense as to how the images are. Let me show you the box really quick. It is flip top. Show you the sides here. And they do have different images. This is the back of the deck. And then here's our front. It's like cardboard. Just be careful with it if you're aggressive with putting the decks in and out of the boxes, especially these. They'll wear down faster. Okay. There's actually, might as well show you what I was putting back in here. With all the mini decks, they have little inserts. They're just giving information about the deck and the ISBN number, where to order it, when it was produced. So this mini deck, all these mini decks, even though they have standard size versions, these were all created within the last, no, they all came out this year. Thought they were created within the last year, but no, these are all new. The original decks came out at different times. The Linestrider came out in 2016. The original version, I have a pocket edition of The Dreams of Gaia, which was released last year. But the full standard edition of The Dreams of Gaia came out, I think, 2016 as well. 2016 was a busy year for tarot, it seems. Okay, here we go. Here's the SteamPunk. This is semi-matte, semi-gloss. It's more matte. The Linestrider has a glossy finish. It has more of a glossy. It's a little matte, but it's more on the glossy side. And the same with its standard size deck. Here's our Magician. I'm going to show you the back of the cards. Back of the cards relate to all the elements that are in the suits. So we have cups, wands, pentacles, and swords. The High Priestess. If anyone has the SteamPunk Tarot, I'd like to know, and I think some people have done this, if they've chosen a character and became that character for a party or like over Halloween. Is that what I'm hearing? So Hierophant, the Cross Keys. The one thing that is different with this deck, it has borders, which is kind of unusual for a mini deck. I feel the mini deck should just lead all the way through. Here's the Lovers, but in this case, there is a border put around it. And there's some people who like to chop their decks and modify them. Be concerned, just be careful if you want to modify this deck and the borders. It's going to be even smaller. Here's our Chariot. I love the look of that Chariot. It's wonderful. Here we have Strength. A typical depiction, traditional depiction of the lion and lady. Here's the Hermit. It's kind of hard to see. Looks like a majority of these cards are set against a darker background. So my apologies for the not clear detail on this. I love a good Wheel of Fortune card. This is a beautiful one. Showcases all the elements. Astrological signs, we have the Pentacle. Let's see exactly what's here. But this is a beautiful Wheel of Fortune. Here's Justice. weighing out our choices, using reason, intellect, logic. Okay, and I have to do it. I have to always flip my Hangman card. I read it so much better than in its proper position. And again, that's natural because we don't see the world upside down. Physically, we don't. So death card. Temperance. Very stylish. It's the devil. The devil is actually a mechanical looking creature here. I feel like these are the creators. The devil just got out of control. Tower. The star. I was saying earlier, after the start of this video, I'm going through the first one or two decks, like the star card. There's been so many wonderful illustrations of the star card. This is one of them. Nicely done. The moon. This is another beautiful one too. I have to angle it a little bit so there's less glare. And we have sunflowers. All these decks, can't recall already if the Linestrider, they have an indication of sunflowers. Judgment. Judgment with an E. The Tower. Oh, I'm sorry, the World card. And here we have the elemental references. Fire, water, air, and earth. So that's our major arcana. Let's see if I could do this. It's going to be a 2-hour video. Let's see if I could do this in 20 minutes. Okay, our elements. Love that Ace of Wands. Holly and berry at the top. Oops. 2 of Wands. You can see my fingerprint there. Oops. Okay, I just have to see something here. 3 of Wands. So again, as you've noticed, this is a mini deck and it does have borders around it. Black borders, which isn't too bad, but for some people who just feel restricted with a deck that has borders, I can see some people wanting to modify this deck because of it. Just my fingers here. 6 of Wands. Steampunk looking horse. 7 of Wands. I'm going to go through these a little quicker here. 9 of Wands. Also, with the mini decks, there's no instruction. There's no instruction books. There's no little white book or anything. So if you already have the larger version and you just want to have this as a keepsake or possibly travel deck, there is no guidebook. Here we go into our quartz. Page wands. Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands. I'm going to show this side by side here. Go back here. Here's our King of Wands. Second, Ace of Cups. Beautiful Ace of Cups. The color of gold is prominent in a few of these images when it comes to highlighting something that is mechanical, the element and power of gold. And we also have here the balanced yin yang, meaning of the heart and the mind, harmony. Three of Cups. Four of Cups. Five of Cups. Six of Cups. Making amends. Working on friendship. Sorry for the motorcycle there in the background. Seven of Cups. Eight of Cups. It's beautiful. It's like some logistic, I can't even think of the word right now. Some planning that's up above. Nine of Cups. Very, very light-hearted feeling in the deck. So now we go into our quartz. Here's our Page of Cups. Looks like we have jets or planes above. Oops. Knight of Cups. I want to save my throat, so I'll just let the cards speak for themselves. There we go. The size of these decks and the length of my fingers, the cards tend to fly out of my hands. There we go. Here's our Knight of Cups. I'm noticing just when while I'm showing this, I have to watch out for fingerprints. But when you're doing readings with these cards, it doesn't really matter if there's going to be fingerprints, but just to showcase these, it's kind of hard. Okay, so here we go to our swords. Two of Swords. Look at this. Look at the Three of Swords here. Very clever. I like that. I'm a traditionalist, so to see decks like this, for them to take a certain era and style and to create a tarot deck and interpret the suits, it's very, I enjoy this. There's a Four of Swords. There's a person there. I kind of have to look. There we go. If I tilt it. This way. Ooh. There's a Five of Swords. I'm going to tilt it this way. And there's Six of Swords. I'm like on an old, it's like a, I'm trying to think, it's like an old warplane, and it looks like there's a blimp above it, showcasing the swords. And Seven of Swords. Eight of Swords. Traditional depiction. Nine of Swords. Our thoughts not letting us sleep. Getting lost in the realm of things that are just not of help or guidance. Ten of Swords. This person is not moving. Every side of him is nailed down with the swords. And there's like a apocalyptic scene in the background. Okay, jumping into our court cards. Eight of Swords. See what I mean? Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords. If anyone has any of these decks, standard size, I'd love to get your feedback on it. Oops. Here we go, Ace of Pentacles. It's beautiful. Two of Pentacles here. Floating on the water. And we also have constant movement. Two relates to balance and putting things in order, yet still producing. So Three of Pentacles. Group effort, similar ideas coming together. Oh, this is nice. Four of Pentacles. The quality, the image quality, even though this is a small deck, it's very nice. It's very nice. The colors are vibrant. There's a little bit more in the dark, a little bit more on the darker side. Maybe do some shadow work with this, but it's pretty nice. Hi Juan, I'm doing good. I want to finish up. This is my last deck, and then I will answer your question. So if you can hang tight for maybe another 10-15 minutes, that would be great. And this is the SteamPunk Tarot mini edition. So here's our Six of Pentacles. You're welcome, Juan. Here's our Seven of Pentacles. Here's our Eight of Pentacles. Beautiful. Very strong. These are Nine of Pentacles. This seems to be very traditional. For the Nine of Pentacles, we do see a woman who's in a garden or is in a landscape that's just filled with abundance. Plenty of pentacles to show success and growth. So I'm really trying to work with the light here. And then it's holding a falcon, Maltese falcon, or a bird of strength. It tends to be a woman with the Nine of Pentacles, sometimes. And here's 10 of Pentacles. Happiness. And I have to think twice about this because this woman looks a little forlorn as she's looking at the happiness of the family above. The 10s are the completion and the starting of a new cycle. Perhaps this woman will be of influence to that family. You have to see good or bad. Okay, winding down. Okay, court cards. Page of Pentacles. I'm sorry, because I'm going through my laptop to show you these images. I don't have a camera set up, so I do have to hone in the cards really close. Here's our Knight of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles. And Fan. Showing the symbol. Very simple, straightforward card. Okay, I think I'm going to get it done. Here we go. King of Pentacles. Success and contentment with their prosperity and wealth. Did it under 2 hours by 1 minute. This is the SteamPunk Tarot. I just reviewed by Barbara Moore. Published through Llewelyn books. The size of all these decks, I want to repeat it a few times so people know. It's 1 3/4 width-wise. So the width, 1 3/4. The length is slightly under 3 inches, maybe 2 3/4. And bam, did it. It did 4 decks in 2 hours. I thought I could do it in 1 hour, but obviously it wasn't going to happen. So the decks that I reviewed, and I'm going to put timestamps on these in the comments so you can go specifically to the deck that you want to see. I'm trying not to talk too much because I want these decks, I want the people to look at the decks and just kind of connect with them. So the first deck I did was Llewelyn's Classic Tarot, which is a pretty direct, straightforward deck. This is good for people who are learning the tarot. If you like the images that you saw, All these decks come in standard size. I just happen to be sent these mini decks to discuss. So the images for this, very traditional, very good for people to start out with for the tarot. The next deck I did was the Everyday Witch Tarot. And this involves images of witches, their cats, very playful, but still stays close to the interpretation. So if you have that kind of energy, you like to work with magic, if you are a witch or you do witchcraft, you would probably appreciate this deck. It's lighthearted, it's whimsical. If you're more of a serious person, you may like this deck or you may not. And that's by Deborah Blake, and the artwork was created by Elizabeth Alba. The third deck that I did is the Linestriders deck. All the tarot decks have flip tops. This deck is all watercolor based. I'll just pop in a card. So the medium is watercolor, all against the white background. This deck is probably best to get once you've gotten familiar with the tarot and you understand the different symbolic images and possible interpretations based on the placement of their scene, their element, their astrological sign. There's so much with the tarot that comes then looking at the pictures. I just want to give a heads up to people who want to explore the tarot. It's wonderful. I love it. I've been doing this for 15 years. But now, within the last few years, I'm growing and focusing more on it. So the Linestrider is good for the next step, the next journey of your astrology practice, or not astrology, I'm sorry, your tarot practice. And that's once you've gotten familiar with all the different meanings. Each tarot deck creator has their own interpretation. So that's another thing you have to kind of connect with that deck and maybe deviate from traditional ways of seeing things with the tarot and look at someone else's perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. You may not agree with some of the images. You may not agree with the interpretation of how certain cards in the major and minor arcana are depicted, but that's the beauty of the tarot. There's not hundreds, there's thousands of decks that are being produced. And that opens the spectrum for interpretation that much more of the tarot. So don't get overwhelmed with all the decks that are out there. As I mentioned, there's thousands of them. Just go to the deck that you feel works with you. I hear people discuss, I'm looking at decks, I can't find one that hasn't, spoken out to me. Don't force it. Don't really try hard to find a tarot deck that works for you, because then you're going to put that energy and you're going to really force yourself into trying to understand the rules and the specifics of the tarot. Tarot is all intuitive. It shouldn't have to be forced. It should come naturally. So if you're not finding the deck that you're looking for and it's at this time, you may want to just stop, and revisit that feeling or that moment a little bit down the line. And then if you get an urge, if you feel a calling, to get a tarot deck, start looking. And then when that calling is strong, you'll find that deck. I have decks here. Some I haven't used, some I've retired, but on the odd occasion, there's a deck that just open me up, take me out, look at me. There's a reason why a deck that you already own is moving you. I want you to work with it. There's maybe a message that it has to share with you. So it's always good to look at the decks online. That's a start, but again, don't force it. It should come naturally. Okay, so that's it. I will answer your question, Juan. If anyone else, I know there's just very few people here. I'm doing this in the middle of the day. Has questions, go ahead, leave them here. If not, because I'm going to sign off soon, leave any messages or comments in the comments section. My website is www.themysticrosetarot.com. I'm on Instagram, the same name, the Mystic Rose Tarot, and of course YouTube. So that's it. My name's Amy, and Juan, I'm feeling really good. I'm a little drained because this is now my 4th video in the last three days, I think, and they've all been about 2 hours long. So now after this, I'm gonna have to edit it down. How many decks do I own? How many decks I own versus what I work with? I don't have a massive collection. The tarot doesn't work for me like that. I get decks based on, like I was saying a moment ago, I have to be moved to have a deck. And as I had just said, I have decks that I haven't used in a while, and sometimes out of the blue, either in a dream or in a feeling, I get a call, if you will, to reach out for that deck. So I go to it, I honor the feeling, see what's there, pull a few cards, because maybe there is something I need to know about within that deck. So the amount of decks I have right now, my working decks are very small. They're very limited. I work with probably no more than 7, 8 decks, and each of those decks have their own purpose when it comes to doing readings. Some are more on the spectrum of healing. Some are more, I'm going to actually start working more with the shadow work. I don't really have a shadowy deck, but there is a deck that I could probably work with to do shadow work. I have a deck that's good for dream work. So they all have their purpose. There's some decks that work better for financial business stuff, inquiries, relationships. That tends to be almost broad spectrum of any deck. So, like I said, I think between 6 and 8 decks I will work with. But overall, that I own, including the mini decks, over 30, I think, 30, 35. You're welcome, Juan. What decks, Juan, do you have? What decks are you working with? Or are you new to tarot? I'll just talk for a few more minutes, but I will stop because my throat's feeling a little raw. But if you can answer that question for me, what decks you own, or if you're new to tarot, let me know. I'm going to take a minute. What are the oracle decks? If you feel like sharing. Is the Atlantis deck, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. Is the Atlantis deck dealing with the subject of the world of Atlantis, everything underwater? And the dragon deck, I assume, is filled with imageries of dragons, and they're placed in different scenarios. How could you sum up those 2 decks? Yes. Which deck are you connecting with the most out of those 2, the dragon or the Atlantis deck? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to sign off. If you want to keep in touch, or if you have any other questions, okay, it's more straightforward. I'll take a look at those decks offline, You know, as I mentioned, there's thousands of decks out there. There's no way I can keep track of all the ones that are out there, but I'd like to hear and know about decks that are out there, and how people are connecting with them. But Juan, if you want to, like I mentioned, if you want to continue the conversation, you can always leave a comment, and then I'll answer. Or you can reach me through my website. I will be doing another video again. I do on Mondays, twice a month. I do Mystic Moon Monday readings, if you will. I have a Moon Oracle deck that I make reference to, and also talk about moon energy and how it influences on a day-to-day basis. Moon magic is very important, and should be incorporated when we're doing any form of practice. Right now we're in the new moon phase, but we are now slowly waxing. So as the moon increases with light, its energy and the way we feel based on the sign that the moon is in affects us. And that's the same when the moon is waning, when it's getting less light. It affects us differently, and also based on the sign as well. Again, you're welcome, Juan. So I do that on Mondays. I don't have a schedule set up yet. I didn't do this Monday. I'll probably do one the week of the new moon, because the week of the full moon, because the full moon falls on a weekend. I think it falls on July 4th, full moon. So I'll probably do a Mystic Moon Monday live event on that Monday. So that would probably be, I think it's the 29th of June. I'll post it. Feel free to follow, to keep in touch. This is a channel that I'm slowly building up. So I have very few followers. It's going to take time, but I appreciate everyone who comes in and takes part and just converses and shares their insight. I'm very open-minded like that, open-hearted, but I will not tolerate any negative energy with comments, feedback, attacking other people while on the live chat. That's not necessary, and I don't tolerate that. So I will report it if someone starts interfering and posing negative energy into that. So that's something you need to be aware of. Other than that, it's a fun channel. I talk a lot. I don't edit my videos, but now what I'm doing is I'm putting timestamps so people can jump and just get to the point of some of the things I'm talking about. So that's it. This is Amy, Mystic Rose Tarot. Happy Tuesday, June 23rd. Feel free, give me some time. I have to go through this video and put the timestamps. Come back, take a look at the decks I have reviewed, and give me your comments. And I look forward to connecting with everyone again very soon. I'll put a schedule of when I'm going to be doing my next video, so to keep track of what's going on. Have a great day, everyone.